Very good. All right, good morning, everybody. So I want to give a brief update on what is now Hurricane Henri. According to the National Hurricane Center, Hurricane Henri is, as we all know, is wending its way up the east coast of the United States, and it looks like it will make landfall at some point early Sunday morning. We here in New Bedford will certainly feel the effects of the storm, and I wanted to talk about that in general. So according to the National Hurricane Center's 11 o'clock updated forecast, we will start to feel the effects of the storm around 8 a.m. on Sunday, that is tomorrow morning. We are under a tropical storm warning here right now, and as close as nearby as Westport, they are under a hurricane watch. So what we have here is a hurricane, a weak hurricane or a really strong tropical storm, and the question is how close it gets to us, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The predictions are right now that here in New Bedford there will be sustained winds of 30 to 40 miles an hour with gusts from 40 to 50 miles an hour. There will be considerable rainfall and perhaps most importantly a 3 to 5 foot storm surge. And so I just want to that's the data. You guys get the updates from various sources, including the National Hurricane Center. What I want to just address right at the outset is just to offer a little bit of perspective on the latest forecast. So the latest forecast, the European models, the American models show in the last day or so that a more westerly tack to the storm. A lot of you, I'm sure, remember Sandy. Sandy was sort of heading this way back in 2012, and then it took a left turn because of a high pressure system in the Atlantic. That's happening to a certain degree now, and that's to our benefit, but this is still a very serious storm that we have to take seriously. I mean, we have to understand really a couple of things. So first is that the graphical depictions of the track of the storm really reflect a set of probabilities, right? So for those of us who prepare for these storms all the time, for storms all the time, understand that it never comes out exactly the way as it's predicted, and that's not a criticism of weathermen and weatherwomen. It is just the reality that it's an inexact science. The reality is the storm is going to come fairly close to here. The other point is that under any scenario, it appears that we are going to get a 3 to 5 foot storm surge, which is a very significant storm surge. How significant will depend on the timing of the tides, essentially. We have a full moon. For those of you who were out last night, you probably saw a glorious full moon that was out there. Well, that full moon is associated with serious tides, larger astronomically high and low tides. And so how that times out will matter in terms of the vulnerability of low-lying areas around the city. So what we'll see are significant wind gusts. We'll see the potential for a storm surge and the possibility of power outages, in part because we've got lots of trees out. It's August. The trees are in their full glory right now, fully leaved, and could fall on wires. So what is the city doing about it? Well, we've been prepping for several days now, doing a number of things. The real basics that we do is we focus our attention on the low-lying areas. So just for instance, in low-lying areas around the city, we in the last couple of days have cleaned out some 50 catch basins to facilitate the flow of stormwater. We've done inspections of low-lying areas. We've been trimming trees, and we've staged generators at our water and wastewater treatment plants. We have staged generators at pump stations as well. There have been sandbags filled for deployment in low-lying sites. So we've staged equipment. Well, we'll be staging equipment in forward positions. These include front end loaders and other equipment to deal with downed branches and trees. So all those things are in place right now for what we believe is a I think it's inevitable that we're going to have lots of trees down, so we have to be really cognizant of that, and we are prepared. The Port of New Bedford, of course, is America's largest commercial fishing port and one of the busiest ports on the East Coast generally. Right now, it's at full capacity. What we experience during these storms is really a rush to get in, to get, for you Game of Thrones fans, to get behind the wall. The hurricane barrier has been here for some 50 years. It has served its purpose in protecting New Bedford from storms, but it is not impenetrable, right? It's there, but we can't just assume that is all we have to do when it comes to protecting mariners. The reality is that if you are, especially a recreational mariner, and you have a berth somewhere else, you're probably not going to find one here too easily. Stay where you are. If you're out in the water now, you should be coming back on in a hurry. Our fishermen know this just through the learning the hard way in that profession. They get in a hurry, and so our understanding is now that all of our fishing boats, if they're not in as yet, they will be by the end of the day today. The Army Corps of Engineers is responsible for the harbor gates, and what they will do is if they believe that the gates should be closed, and the rule of thumb is that they will close the gates if the height of the water exceeds 4 feet above mean high tide, then they'll give, in anticipation at that point, they'll give mariners an hour-and-a-half long message or warning, and so that mariners that are roughly nearby will have a chance to get back in before the gates are closed. We don't want flooding inside the harbor. That's why the gate and the barrier are there anyway. The city controls, by the way, the street gates. During Sandy, we closed the gate on Padenham Avenue. If there is wave action on the street at all, then we'll close those gates. One area that we're always concerned about, low-lying areas. So probably the one that stands out the most is the Padenham Avenue neighborhood on the other side of the peninsula, and that's an area where in Sandy we're literally standing next to the seawall, and we watch the water come right up to the edge, and then it went no farther. But that's a place where we keep special attention to, because it's situated outside the barrier, and it's a densely populated neighborhood, and it's fairly low-lying. So we will be keeping a very close eye on that neighborhood and getting word out to the neighborhood that people have to be sensitized to the possibility of some kind of storm surge onto their streets. And we'll be pre-positioning public safety assets in that neighborhood in general, as we did during Sandy. In the very unlikely event of an evacuation order, we'll be prepared to put people up at local hotels. We won't be doing congregate sheltering, only because we're still in the pandemic. We don't want people crowded into a particular space. So we've reached out to the hotels. We've arranged for transportation to those hotels as well. No issues with schools, of course. It's summertime, kids, and the school year won't start until Wednesday. I think the first kids come back on Wednesday. So what's canceled? So right here, Fort Tabor, enjoy today because it'll be closed tomorrow. The Harbor Walk, the Cove Walk, the beaches, all are going to be closed effective at 8 p.m. tonight. The police will enforce these closures. So, and if people are up there because they want to be out sightseeing, the police will, with force sufficient to effectuate your removal, do just that. Don't go up there. Don't go up on the Harbor Walk. Don't go up on the Cove Walk. Don't go to the beaches. If we have a storm surge, you will put yourself at risk to literally being swept out to sea. So don't let it happen. Our airport is still open. That is to say, it's not closed. The airlines, really up to the airlines to cancel flights. None have been canceled as yet. So people, if they have flights, they should just check directly with their carriers to find out about the status of those flights. Trash service, this is an important one. So trash service in the city will be pushed back one day. So if you have trash collected on Monday, it'll be Tuesday. If it's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, and so forth. On Monday, trash is picked up in Ward 1 and the North End. Please don't put your trash out on Sunday night. Wait till Monday, your trash will be picked up on Tuesday. Our vaccination and testing clinics will be canceled for tomorrow. The zoo will be closed tomorrow. The Beaumont Park Zoo will be closed tomorrow. I will, with respect to city offices, we'll determine tomorrow whether they should be closed on Monday. So I don't have an announcement yet. I think we're going to take a wait-and-see approach. Certainly essential employees will be in on Monday, and non-essential maybe, but we'll provide guidance as we get a little bit closer. So what should people do? So you've heard these admonitions before, but they bear repeating so that everybody can focus on what they need to focus on. So today's the day to prepare, to get stuff out of the way. Whatever business you have that you might have done tomorrow, do it today. So if you've got to pick up groceries or prescription medicine or batteries or any of that stuff, do that. Charge your phones. Make sure you have water in the house. We could have some power outages here, so that's why we want to at least have some of those basics in place. In general, everything's going to be closed on Sunday, so stay right where you are. Shelter in place. Don't go out. Avoid the temptation to sightsee. There is a temptation to get out in the action and take a look at what's happening, how the water's foaming up and the big waves and everything and all that. Don't do it. Don't do it. The police will gently and maybe even not so gently remind you that that's not a good thing to do. Stay away. If you see downed wires, call 911. Stay away from them. Stay away even from solar panels, downed solar panels. And this is sort of a new admonition, right? So 9 years ago with Sandy, we didn't have nearly as many solar panels in the city, and it's true in New Bedford, it's true in many other places. Those solar panels on the ground may still be live, so stay away from those as well. If you lose power, don't call the city, call Eversource. That number is 800-592-2000. That's in the press release. Mariners should be heading back again. That's really important. Again, the fishermen know what they're doing for sure. Sometimes there are recreational boaters who take their chances, and we don't want them to take chances. Come back in. Stay tuned for updates, of course. We'll be pushing out more information as things go on. We don't have another press conference scheduled. We'll be doing some social media. If there is a need for a press conference, we'll call that, but we'll do some social media. We'll be doing some more robocalls. We did one last night. We might do some targeted robocalls in certain neighborhoods, depending on how things start to shape up. And then the tips on the city's website, of course, refer to that. That's all there. The bottom line is let common sense prevail. If you use your head, you don't do anything risky or don't do anything that's that your mother wouldn't want you to do, don't do it. If you're tempted, don't do it. So, and that's the way we'll stay safe. It's in these storms. It's when ordinarily it's when people don't listen to updates, or when they take unnecessary risks. That's when they get in trouble, and we don't want that. So, that is the long and short of it. I have. I'll just quickly introduce the department heads behind me who have been working on this matter, and I really appreciate the work they've done. I will just note the city's Chief Operating Officer, Christina Connolly, who's here, and then our Emergency Management Director, Brian Nobriga, our Fire Chief, Scott Kruger, our Police Chief, Paul Oliveira, our Port Director, Justin Polson, our Deputy EMS Director, Mike Thomas, and Ward 5 City Councilor Scott Lima. So I appreciate their presence here today, and our Airport Director, Scott Service, is here as well. With that, I will take questions.
So you said the city's in charge of closing the street gates. Is there plans there's no plans to close them officially yet? Can you consider?
That's a game time decision. So the rule of thumb is we'll close those gates if we anticipate wave action on the street. So if water's lapping onto East Rodney French Boulevard just up the street from here, then it might make sense to close the gates. And if those gates are closed, people should head up to Brock Avenue. One of the reasons the peninsula is, I mean, the primary reason the peninsula is a safe area, even though it's very exposed to the sea, is that the center, the spine along Brock Avenue is fairly elevated. It's a little over 30 feet above sea level. So people should, and we don't anticipate this happening. I think it's unlikely, but in the unlikely event that it does happen, people should just head up to Brock Avenue and they can get out that way.
Another question too. So the hurricane barriers, the Army Corps of Engineers, you know if they are considering closing the hurricane barrier, you know, is there a deadline that, you know, they certainly won't close it until then for people trying to come in before then?
Yeah, so they give people an hour and a half of a heads up, and they will man the gates 3 hours before and 3 hours after high tides.
Do you expect they'll be open through the end of the day today?
Oh yeah. No, there's nothing going on. I mean, it's a beautiful day today. You know, people should come right on in. Yeah.
But are the boats being? You said the harbor's full. Are the boats being redirected anywhere for the full?
I don't think so. Justin, you want to just address that? I don't think that's the case.
No, that's that's not the case. Yesterday, the port department was quite busy fielding calls from recreational boaters, and we worked really hard to find all the spots to accommodate as many recreational boaters as possible.
I said the harbor was full. I mean, are people being redirected to somewhere nearby? Or?
So the recommendation is if you have somewhere to go, you should go there. We continue to look and scour for as many spots as possible, and we're also redirecting people to other private sites.
And with regard to the, as you said, the unlikely event of an evacuation, do you have to use hotels? Do you have hotels already set aside? How many rooms do you have?
Yeah, I don't know if we have a specific number of rooms, but we already reached out to City Hotels, the 2 downtown hotels, and they're ready to take on people. Do we have Brian? Do we have a specific number of rooms?
Yeah, so we've reached out to them yesterday morning. So during the COVID pandemic, we've had a relationship with the 2 downtown hotels. So we reached out to them yesterday morning. They are not at capacity. At that time, they did not think they were at capacity. So they have roughly, I believe, 30 rooms per hotel that are available till Monday. Usually during the weekend is their height. So that's a good news. After Monday, they usually die down a little bit. So.
All right, anybody else? All right, very good, thank you. We'll put out more safety admonitions and updates on the storm as time goes forward, but we appreciate everybody's being here today to let everybody know what to expect. Thanks.